I was looking in the side mirror, and my fingers had gone white from gripping the wheel so hard that the skin on my knuckles stretched to its limit. Rain lashed against the glass, blurring the lights behind me, but I saw it clearly. Too clearly for 90 kilometers an hour. Clinging to the rear step of my trailer with bare hands on the slick metal, a man hung there. His face was turned directly toward the rearview mirror. He wasn't screaming. He wasn't begging. He was smiling. Wide, unnatural, showing a row of dark teeth. Then he slowly raised his hand, pointing straight at my cab door. I slammed the accelerator to the floor, praying the engine would roar louder than my own heart pounding in my chest. And that's when I realized, he wasn't hanging outside. The reflection in the mirror showed him already sitting on my sleeper berth, right behind me. These are 3 true, terrifying stories about truckers. I've been hauling freight on long routes for 15 years. I've seen wrecks, drunk drivers, strange lights in the Nevada sky that are better left unspoken. But what made me quit a major logistics company and switch to local runs wasn't UFOs, and it wasn't gangs. It was weight. It was November. My route took me through northern Washington, close to the Canadian border. The area was remote, endless conifer forests, narrow 2-lane roads, and fog that never seemed to lift. My load was standard, pallets of electronics, sealed at the warehouse. I personally checked the seals. The manifest said 18 tons. The truck drove easily, the engine steady. Problem started around 2 in the morning. I had passed the last sizable town and was deep in a forest corridor. The radio picked up only static, so I drove in silence, listening only to the hum of the wheels. Suddenly, the engine revs jumped. The truck lurched, as if someone had grabbed it by the tail. I checked the gauges, everything was normal. But the feeling of weight was immediate and physical. The tractor roared, climbing a gentle hill I usually take in 8th gear. Now I had to drop to 5th. The fuel gauge needle crept right. That feeling you get when you're overloaded by 5 or 6 tons. I thought maybe the trailer brakes had seized. I found a small pull-off on the shoulder, turned on the hazards, and stepped out. The night air was icy, smelling of wet pine and ozone. I grabbed a flashlight and circled the coupling. The brakes were cold. Tires fine. The seal on the trailer doors untouched. Everything looked perfect, but when I shined the light under the trailer, it seemed like the springs were sagging far more than they should with 18 tons. I returned to the cab, blaming fatigue and bad pavement. But as soon as I moved, it got worse. Much worse. It wasn't just weight. It was movement. Every time I entered a turn, I felt something massive shifting inside the trailer. A heavy, dull thud that rattled the entire rig. Boom. Pause. Boom. The load was secured tight. I'd seen the loaders wrap the pallets and strap them down. Electronics don't roll. By 3 a.m., I was drenched in cold sweat. The truck groaned. On straight stretches, it began to swerve as if the cargo had a life of its own, trying to pitch the rig off the road. I gripped the wheel, trying to compensate for the jolts. Suddenly, the lights of a way station appeared ahead. Truckers usually hate these, but at that moment, I was grateful. I needed official confirmation that I wasn't losing my mind. I rolled onto the scale. The officer in the booth looked sleepy. I watched the display, expecting my legal 32 tons. The numbers lit up red. 44 tons. 12 tons extra. The officer came out, frowning, shining a flashlight at me. "You're overloaded, buddy," he said. "Seriously. What are you hauling?" "Electronics," I replied, my voice shaking. 18 tons. I didn't load extra. Seal intact. We walked to the back of the trailer. He checked the seal. The number matched the manifest. Old, rusted, untouched. "Open it," he commanded. I pulled out bolt cutters, snipped the lock, and lifted the latch. The doors swung wide. The officer shone a powerful beam inside. The trailer was full of pallets and boxes. Everything perfectly in place. Not a single box shifted. Straps taut as guitar strings. "There's no room here for an extra 12 tons, the officer muttered, climbing inside. He walked to the very end, lighting corners. "Empty. Clean. Maybe the scale's off?" I asked hopefully. He looked at me strangely. "Calibrated yesterday morning. Close it. Go away again." I shut the doors. Hands trembling. I rolled back onto the platform. The display blinked. 32 tons. Exactly as it should be. The extra 12 tons were gone. The officer watched me from the booth, then the display, then me again. He looked as shaken as I felt. He just waved, "Go." I pulled away, but relief didn't come. Because as soon as I picked up speed and plunged into the darkness, I heard it. A soft, distinct laughter right behind the sleeper wall. Not in the cab. In that tiny gap between the tractor and the trailer. Or maybe inside the metal itself. And the same thud. Boom. The rig jolted left, toward the oncoming lane. I drove the remaining 300 miles at 40 kilometers an hour, lights on in the cab, music blaring, but I could still feel it rolling back there, heavy as lead, alive. When I arrived at the drop-off, the loaders said all the boxes were fine. But one of them, an old Mexican guy, pulled me aside. "Señor," he said quietly, pointing to the trailer floor. "Did you have animals?" "No, just electronics." "Then where are these prints?" Among the dust on the wooden floor were huge barefoot-like prints, each with 7 toes. They didn't lead from the doors. They started in the center of the trailer and ended abruptly at the front wall, directly behind my seat. I thought the way station was the strangest moment of that night. I was wrong. The real nightmare awaited me on a detour a month later. In logistics, there's a rule: never trust a GPS blindly through the Appalachians. Old roads can turn into goat trails faster than you can say, U-turn. That night, a severe storm had closed the main highway due to a landslide, and the dispatcher sent me coordinates for a detour. It was a narrow 2-lane road winding through dense forest. Tree branches arched overhead, forming a tunnel. Rain fell in sheets. Wipers struggled. I drove slowly, eyes straining into the darkness. After an hour, I noticed something odd. Signs. At first, ordinary road signs, speed limit, sharp turn. But they looked wrong. Too new. Too clean for this godforsaken stretch. And too low, as if hastily hammered into the ground a few hours ago. The GPS said the federal highway would appear in 5 miles. I relaxed. Then the headlights caught an obstacle. An old sedan stood in the middle of the road. Dark, unlit, hood open. No one around. I slammed the brakes. The rig hissed its air, stopping 10 meters from the car. Normal situation. Someone broken down. But something inside me tightened. Instincts honed by years of night runs screamed, "Do not get out." I flicked on the high beams, flooding the sedan with bright light. No one inside. Doors locked. I grabbed the radio. "Hey, in the sedan. Need help?" Silence. I waited a minute, scanning the forest on either side. Trees stood like walls. No movement. No sound except the rain. I had to pass it, but the road was too narrow. The shoulders were soft mud, I'd sink immediately. The only option, get out and see if I could push it in neutral. I grabbed a crowbar, old habit, and opened the door. The rain burst into the cab. I stepped onto the asphalt. The air was thick. I approached the sedan, crowbar ready, and peeked inside. Empty. No keys, no personal items. Interior spotless. Too spotless. I went to close the hood and saw the engine, or rather, its absence. Under the hood, nothing. Just a void through which I could see the wet asphalt. This wasn't a broken car. It was bait. A hollow shell dragged here and abandoned. Cold ran down my spine to the nape of my neck. I spun to the truck. My only island of safety, idling quietly. Then I heard it. Click. Metal on metal, coming from the forest. Not one side. All sides. Click. 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 Not branches. Latches. Or traps. I bolted for the cab. Rocks flew from the trees. Not small pebbles, fist-sized stones. One smashed the windshield, spiderwebbing the glass. Another hit my shoulder, nearly making me drop the crowbar. I leapt onto the step, slammed the door, locked it. Heart pounding. I put it in reverse. Rules be damned. Safety be damned. I had to go. I backed up, watching the mirrors. That's when I saw them. 10 people emerging from the forest, behind the trailer. They weren't running. They walked. Raincoats, hoods. Chains in some hands. One had a long object, like a rifle. They blocked my retreat. Left and right, forest. I had one choice. First low gear. 18 wheels versus a light sedan. I floored it. The engine roared. My bumper hit the sedan. Metal screamed. Glass shattered everywhere. The sedan, light without an engine, flew sideways into the ditch, snagging on my step. I dragged it several meters, hearing horrid screeching, until it finally came free. I didn't look back. Didn't check the mirrors. I drove the twisting road on a shredded tire, sparks flying, until I reached the federal highway. Police later found the sedan. Stolen 5 years prior in another state. No people. No road leading to it. Or rather, the road ended at an abandoned quarry 2 miles past the turn. They told me I must have taken a wrong turn. But I know what I saw. And the paint of that sedan remained on my bumper. They weren't trying to rob me. If they had, they would have attacked immediately. They were hurting me. Playing with me. But even that night in the forest didn't terrify me like what happened on I-80 in Wyoming. Because in the forest, I at least saw the enemy. It was a hot run. Medical equipment, extremely expensive, urgent. Dispatcher said, stops only for fuel. Sleep with engine running. Don't open doors for anyone. I was used to these instructions. Paranoia of insurance companies, usually. 3rd day on the road. Exhausted. Wyoming, state of wind and emptiness. You can drive for 5 hours without seeing a soul except coyotes. Night. 4th cup of cold coffee. Eyes stinging. Left mirror, empty. Right, empty. Then I glanced at the rearview, checking the sleeper, a habit. I froze. The curtain separating the sleeper from the seats was drawn. I always leave it open to keep heat back there. I remembered opening it in the morning. Brain hunting rational explanations. Vibration maybe? I reached for it, yanked sharply. Empty. Pillow, sleeping bag, gym bag, all there. I exhaled. You need sleep, man, I said aloud. 10 minutes later, the feeling returned. Eyes on the back of my head. Heavy, drilling. A shadow flickered in the side mirror. My trailer has a small service door for the refrigeration unit. Slightly ajar. Flapping in the wind. Impossible. I locked it. Had to stop. Pulled onto a wide shoulder. Wind strong enough to rock the cab in place. Took my heavy flashlight crowbar. Door closed. Lock intact. Just tired, I thought. Sleep deprivation hallucinations, a trucker's profession. Back in the cab, step climbed, and saw it in the reflection of the driver's door glass before opening it. Inside my cab, passenger seat, someone sitting. Dark figure. Motionless. I froze, key in hand. Brain refusing to process. I just left the cab. Doors locked. Slowly turned my head. Seat empty. Only a depression in the upholstery. On the dash, an object that wasn't there a minute ago. A wet, dirty glove. Old work leather glove. I yanked the door open, flashlight raised. No one. Checked the sleeper. Lifted the mattress. Opened drawers. Empty. But the smell. Stagnant water and rot in the cab. I threw the glove outside. Didn't want to know where it came from. I wanted to leave. Engine started. Hit the road. An hour passed calmly. I convinced myself, gas station prank, just missed seeing the glove. Then the rain started. I looked in the mirror. He was there. Not inside the cab. Outside. Splayed on the roof of my tractor, above the windshield. I saw his upside-down head dangling, wet hair lashing the glass. Face gray, eyes white, pupilless. Watching me as I drove 100 kilometers per hour. And he tapped. Knuckles on the glass. Tap tap tap. I screamed. Slammed the brakes. Truck fishtailed. Trailer folded, scissors style. We skidded onto gravel, raising a dust cloud. When everything calmed, I clutched the wheel, afraid to look up. On the glass, where his head had been, greasy smudges. Handprints. Outside. I didn't leave the truck until sunrise. Sat with crowbar in hand, staring at the marks. When police arrived, called by a passing driver, they checked the tractor roof. Hit someone? An officer asked. No. Why? Roof, visor, full of dirt and scratches. Looks like someone tried to pry the hatch open with claws. I delivered the load and quit the same day. No more night runs. Dispatcher in a bright office now. People everywhere. But sometimes, driving home in my car, looking in the rearview, I swear I see that gray hand slowly rising from the back seat. Next time you drive at night and see a trucker, lights on, staring into his mirrors in terror, don't honk. He might be seeing something you're lucky not to notice. Would you open the door if you saw a glove on your seat? Or would you rather not know who left it there?